My brother left college in October of his sophomore year. He was 19. I was 15 and was in the 10th grade, and was in the specific form of a 15-year-old for whom a sibling's departure from college was an event in the larger landscape of my life, rather than something I had to understand in full. He came home to Richmond. He got a job. He said he hadn't been that interested in the program and had wanted to try something different. I had accepted this in the way that a 15-year-old accepts an adult's explanation, not fully, not analytically, but in the form of the incorporated background fact. My brother was home. He was working. That was the shape of the thing. I was 15 and the shape of the thing was the shape I had been given, and it had fit into the larger picture well enough that I had not looked for a different shape. For 19 years. I was 34 when I found out. My mother had a hip replacement and was in the recovery period at her house in Richmond, which was the house where we had all grown up, and I had come back for 2 weeks to help with the recovery. Marcus had been the person managing her care in Richmond for the full time I had been in Chicago, which had been the full time of my adult life. Marcus is 4 years older than me. He is 38. He has been in Richmond for the full 19 years since he had left college and had come home. I had been at my mother's house for 4 days when she had said something in the afternoon in the specific form she says the things she says when she has decided the time has arrived. She had been in her chair with her hip elevated and had said, "I want to tell you something about Marcus and why he came home." I had been quiet. She had said, it was not because he wasn't interested in the program. She had had a health crisis in October of Marcus's sophomore year. Not the acute form of the crisis that requires the calling and the flying and the hospitalization. The specific form of the crisis, that is the slow deterioration of a person's ability to manage their daily life that does not produce a single dramatic event, but that produces the growing understanding that the person cannot manage on their own. She had been dealing with a specific combination of health problems that required significant daily management, the doctor appointments, the medication schedule, the specific form of the daily logistical support that a person needs when they're not able to fully manage it alone. She had been managing alone. She had called Marcus. He had come home. He had told her and everyone else that he had not been interested in the program. He had been managing her care in Richmond for 19 years, while I had been in school and in Chicago building the career. I want to say something about what the 4 days before that afternoon had been and about what I had been observing in the house that had been producing the questions I had not yet asked. I had been in the house for 4 days managing the logistics of the recovery, the post-surgical appointments, the physical therapy coordination, the specific management of the post-hip replacement recovery period that requires sustained attention. Marcus had been at the house every day. He had been, across the 4 days, the specific form of a person managing something with the competence of long practice, the home health aide schedule, the medication timing, the communication with the surgical team. He had been doing the management in the form of someone who had been doing the management for a long time. I had been, across the 4 days, receiving the management from someone who clearly knew the system better than I did, the specific knowledge of my mother's care that comes from years of the proximate management. I had been the person who had come in to help with the recovery and had found a person already managing the whole of the thing with a fluency that I had not had. The 4 days had produced the specific form of the question that had not yet arrived in the direct form. What has Marcus been doing here while I have been in Chicago, and for how long? And what has the doing been in the full form? I am a pharmacist. I have been working for 8 years at a hospital pharmacy in Chicago, where I work in the clinical pharmacy department. The specific work of the medication review, the identification of the drug interactions, and the dosage adjustments, and the specific pharmacological expertise that the clinical team draws on in the treatment of the patients. My work requires the specific form of the attention to the full picture, the understanding of what each medication does and what it does in combination with every other medication the patient is taking, the specific vigilance against the adverse interaction that can occur when the full picture is not attended to. I had been doing this work for 8 years. The afternoon conversation with my mother had arrived in me in the professional language. I had been attending to the full picture of my mother's care for 4 days and had been missing a medication that had been in the regimen the whole time. The medication had been Marcus. I had not seen it because I had not been given the full list. I want to say something about my mother and about what she had said in the afternoon conversation and about the form the saying had taken. Her name is Loretta. She is 66 years old. She had been a school librarian for 28 years before her retirement and had been, across my life, the specific form of the careful person. The person who organized information carefully, who gave information in the form the situation required, who had been holding the specific information about Marcus in the October of his sophomore year in the form that it had required until the form had required the giving. The 4 days of the recovery and my presence in the house managing the logistics had been the form that had told her the giving was required. She had said, "I need you to understand what Marcus has been for this family." She had said it in the specific form of the thing that has been waiting to be said for a specific period of time, and that has now been given its occasion. She had said, "He came home because I asked him to." She had said, "I have been ashamed of that for 19 years. She had been quiet. She had said, "I did not have another option and I took the option I had, and the option cost him the thing it cost him." She had said, "I want you to know what the option cost him before I am no longer in the position to tell you." Before I go on, if something in this story is landing close to something real in your life, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely feel it. Drop a comment and tell me where you are watching from and what time it is there. I read every single one. My name is Deja. I am 34 years old. I am a pharmacist in Chicago, Illinois, and this is the story of the afternoon at my mother's house, and of the conversation with Marcus, and of what I have understood in the 2 years since about what my brother gave to the family for 19 years, and what the giving cost, and what we owe him, and what owing someone something looks like when the owing is real. I want to say something about the rest of the afternoon conversation with my mother and about what she had told me in the form of the full accounting that the 4 days had made possible. She had said, "In October of his sophomore year I called him and told him I could not manage." She had said, "I did not ask him to come home." She had said, "I told him the specific situation and he had made the decision to come home on his own." She had said, "I want to be clear about that." She had said, "I did not ask him to come home. I had been quiet." I had said, "You called him and told him you couldn't manage and he made the decision." She had said, "Yes, she had been quiet." She had said, "I have been telling myself that for 19 years. I had said, "Is it true?" She had been very quiet. She had said, "I do not know whether a 20-year-old boy who hears that his mother cannot manage is being given a choice or not." She had said, "I believed I was giving him a choice." She had said, "I do not know whether he experienced it as a choice." I had been quiet. She had said, "I have been afraid to ask him." She had said, "I have been afraid to know the answer for 19 years. She had said, "I am telling you because you are here and because the hip replacement has made me think about what I have not said." She had said, "I have not said, 'Thank you for the 19 years.'" She had said, "I have not said, 'I know what the 19 years were.'" She had said, "I am telling you so that someone knows." She had said, "Someone in this family has to know." I had called Marcus that evening. He had answered from the kitchen of his apartment in Richmond, which was the apartment he had been in for 7 years and which was 3 miles from our mother's house. He had answered in the form of the evening at home answer, relaxed, the background sounds of the kitchen. I had said, "Mama told me." He had been quiet. He had said, "What did she tell you?" I had said, "October." I had said, "Sophomore year." I had said, "The call she made and the decision you made in the 19 years since." He had been quiet for a long time. He had said, "She told you." He had said it in the form of a statement rather than a question, the acknowledgement of the fact rather than the request for the confirmation. I had said, "Yes." He had said, "Okay." He had been quiet. He had said, "I have been waiting for someone to know for a long time." He had said it in the tone of a person who has been holding something in the specific form of the alone holder and who has just been told that the holding is no longer entirely alone. He had not cried. I had not cried. We had been on the phone in the quiet. I want to say something about what Marcus had told me in the call and about what the call had produced in terms of the full picture of the 19 years. He had not given me the full account on the first call. The full account had come across 2 calls and the visit I had made to his apartment on the 3rd day after the call. He had told me in pieces the specific form of the 19 years. He had come home in October and had taken the job at the auto parts store on the south side, the job that had been the first of the jobs across the years. He had been doing the care management alongside the jobs, the appointments, the prescriptions, the specific logistical work of a person who has the knowledge of his mother's health situation and who is the person coordinating it. He had built, across the 19 years, the specific system, the network of providers, the home health aide who had been coming twice a week for the last 7 years, the specific routine of the management that had allowed him to work full-time while also being the primary coordinator of her care. He had been doing this for 19 years. He had been doing it in the form of the person who does not require that the doing be seen. He had not complained about it to me. He had not presented it to me as the sacrifice it was. He had been in Richmond doing the thing that needed to be done in the form of the person who had found the thing that needed to be done and had done it. I want to say something about what Marcus had said when I had asked him about the college and about what leaving had cost him in the form that he was willing to speak about it. He had been quiet for a long time when I had asked. He had said, I was going to be a civil engineer. He had said, I had been accepted into the engineering program. He had said, I had been doing well in the first year and a half. He had said it in the tone of a man describing something that has been at a distance for long enough that the describing is not the acute form of the loss. The distance had accumulated. The civil engineering program had been the form of his life that October had interrupted. He had been quiet. He had said, I do not spend a lot of time thinking about the civil engineering program. He had said, the 19 years have been the years I have had. He had said, the years I have had things in them that I would not have had if I had stayed. He had said, I'm not going to tell you it all worked out for the best. He had said, I am going to tell you that it has been a real life and that I have been in it. He had been quiet. He had said, but yes. He had said, the civil engineering program was real, and the leaving of it was a cost, and I have been carrying the cost. I had said yes. He had said yes. He had said, now you know. I want to say something about the pharmacy parallel and about what the professional practice had given me for understanding what Marcus had been doing across the 19 years and why the clinical framework had been the most clarifying lens for the full picture. In clinical pharmacy, one of the core concepts is the concept of the invisible medication, the intervention that is working so effectively that its absence is not noticed because its presence has been preventing the adverse outcome. The patient who takes the antihypertensive medication and has no cardiac events does not experience the cardiac events that the medication is preventing. The medication's success is its invisibility. The care management that Marcus had been doing for 19 years had been the invisible medication in our family system. Our mother had been managing her health conditions with relative stability for 19 years. The stability had not been produced by the conditions. It had been produced by the coordination of the care of the conditions, the prescriptions filled on schedule, the appointments made and attended, the specific logistical management that the conditions required. Marcus had been the invisible medication. His presence in the management had been producing the stability that I had been receiving as the background condition of our mother's health. I had not been seeing the medication. I had been seeing the outcome. The outcome had looked like stability. The stability had been the outcome of the medication working. The medication had been Marcus. I had gone to Marcus's apartment on the 3rd day, not to address the 19 years specifically, to be in his space, which I had understood, after the calls, was a form of the understanding that required the being there, rather than the phone. He had been in the apartment in the form of the Saturday apartment morning, relaxed, coffee made, the specific quality of a person in their own space on the day when the space is fully theirs. I had been in the apartment and had been receiving it as the space of his adult life. The books, the work documents, the photographs. There had been a framed photograph on the shelf that had been him at a construction site wearing a hard hat. I had said, "Where is that?" He had said, "It is from a project I consulted on 2 years ago." He had said, "A friend who is a civil engineer needed someone who understood the logistical side of a residential development and asked if I could help." He had said, "I consulted on the project for 6 months." He had said, the hard hat was his idea. He had been looking at the photograph. He had said, I understood enough of the engineering to be useful. He had said, the 19 years of the construction work had given me that. He had said, not the degree, the experience. He had been quiet. He had said, it was not the same as the degree. He had said, it was also not nothing. I had said, no. I had said, it was also not nothing. He had said, yes. He had said, that is the most accurate thing I can say about the 19 years. I want to say something about the conversation I had with Marcus, about what he had told our mother and what he had not told her across the 19 years, and about what the telling and the not telling had looked like from the inside of his management. He had said, she has always known the shape of it. He had said, not the cost. He had said, she has always known that I came home and that the coming home was for her. He had said, what she has not known is the specific form of what the 19 years have been. He had said, the specific form includes the civil engineering program and includes the times when I have had to choose between what I wanted to do and what needed to be done for her care. He had said, I have not told her the specific form. He had said, not because I wanted to protect her from it. He had said, because saying it to her would require her to carry it and she cannot undo the 19 years, and the carrying would not produce anything. He had said, I have been protecting myself from seeing what the carrying would do to her. He had been quiet. He had said, I want to tell you something that I have not told her. He had said, there were years when I was angry. He had said, not at her. He had said, at the situation. He had said, the specific form of the anger of a person who has a life he would have chosen and is not in that life and who cannot produce the other life by being angry. He had said, I have been managing the anger for 19 years. He had said, I have managed it in the form of the years I have had. He had said, the years I have been real years. He had said, the anger has also been real. He had said, both have been real simultaneously. He had said, that is what it has been. And the week after the apartment visit, which had been the week I had returned to Chicago, I had called my mother from the plane. She had answered and I had said, I want to tell you what I told Marcus. She had said, tell me. I had said, I told him that I know about the 19 years. I had said, I told him that someone in the family knows. She had been very quiet. She had said, and what did he say? I had said, he said he had been waiting for someone to know for a long time. She had cried, not the sustained crying of the acute grief, the specific brief form of the crying that arrives when something that has been held for a long time is released. She had said, yes. She had said, I know he has been waiting. She had said, I have been waiting too. She had said, I have not known how to say it to him. She had said, I have been saying it in the form of doing the things that needed to be done for him. She had said, the birthday dinners and the holidays and the specific forms of the ordinary. She had said, I have not said it in the direct form. I had said, he knows. She had said, he knows because I have been doing the thing. She had said, he knows the way I know things without the direct saying. I had said, yes. I had said, but the direct saying is also worth doing. She had said, yes. She had said, I know. She had said, I am going to do the direct saying. I had said, yes. She had said, yes. She had been quiet. She had said, thank you for telling him someone knows. I had said, yes. She had said, yes. She had said, that is the thing I could not do myself. I want to say something about the clinical pharmacy parallel that had been most in my mind across the week of the conversations, and about what it had given me for the form of what I wanted to do going forward. In pharmacology, there is a concept called the therapeutic window, the range of a drug's concentration in the blood within which the drug is effective without being toxic. The drug that is below the therapeutic window does not produce its effect. The drug that is above the therapeutic window produces harm. The drug within the window does what it was designed to do. I had been thinking about what Marcus needed from me, not the expression of the gratitude that would be below the therapeutic window, not the overwhelming of him with the acknowledgement that would be above it. The therapeutic window for what Marcus needed from me had to be found. The therapeutic window was the form of the acknowledgement that was real and specific, and that did not require him to manage my feelings about what he had done. The window was the form that said, I know the specific thing and I know its cost, and I am in a different relationship to the knowing now than I was before the hip replacement. The window was the direct saying in the specific form. I had been working out the form across the week in Chicago before I had called him. I had needed the week to find the form before I had called. I had called Marcus from Chicago on the Thursday of the week I had returned. I had said, I want to say something specific. He had said, say it. I had said, I understand that the civil engineering program was real, and that the leaving of it was a cost you have been carrying, and that the 19 years were not the life you had designed. I had said, I understand that the decision you made when you were 19 was not the neutral decision it was presented as. I had said, I understand that the years since have been years in which you have been doing the thing that needed to be done in the form that you could do it, and that the doing has been real and has cost something real. He had been very quiet. He had said, yes. He had said, that is exactly it. I had said, I want you to know that I know it. He had been quiet for a long time. He had said, that is the thing. He had said, I have not needed anyone to make it different. He had said, I have needed someone to know what it was. He had said, knowing that you know what it was is the thing. I had said, yes. He had said, yes. He had said, it is enough. He had said it in the form of the full statement, not the it is enough for now. The it is enough in the complete form. I had said, yes. He had said yes. We had been on the phone in the Thursday evening. The knowing had been given. The knowing had been received. The it is enough had been the form of the completion of what the knowing required. I want to say something about what had happened in the months after the hip replacement recovery, and about what the conversations between the three of us had produced. My mother had had the direct saying conversation with Marcus in the month after I had returned to Chicago. She had called me afterward and had said, I told him. I had said, what did you tell him? She had said, I told him that I know what the 19 years have been. She had said, I told him that I have been telling myself I gave him a choice for 19 years, and that I do not know whether I believe that anymore. She had said, I told him that whatever the 19 years were, I have received them, and they are the most significant gift anyone has ever given me, and I have been carrying the not saying of that for 19 years. She had been quiet. She had said, he was quiet for a long time. She had said, he said, I know, Mama. She had said, he said it in the form of someone who had known and who had been waiting for it to be said in the direct form. She had said, I want to tell you something about what he said after. She had said, he said, I would do it again. She had been very quiet. She had said, he said, I would do it again. She had said, not as the performed thing. She had said, as the true accounting of what the 19 years have produced that the civil engineering program would not have produced. She had said, he said, the 19 years are the years I have had, and they have been mine, and I would do them again. She had said, I cried. She had said, I'm telling you because it is the most important thing that has been said in this family in a long time. I had been back in Richmond twice in the year after the hip replacement. Both times had been the specific form of the Richmond visits after the afternoon at the hip replacement. Visits that had the full picture in them, rather than the partial one. Marcus had been in the visits in a different form from the form he had been in before the afternoon. Not a different person, but a person who was being known in a fuller form. He had been in the visits after the afternoon, the person who was in the room with the family in the acknowledged form, rather than in the unacknowledged form. The acknowledgement had changed something in the texture of the visits, not dramatically, in the specific way that the full medication list changes the clinical picture even when the clinical picture remains stable. I had been receiving the visits with the full list. The full list had changed what I was seeing. What I had been seeing had been the same person doing the same things he had been doing for 19 years, and I had been seeing the things in the form that included what the things had cost and what they had built and who the person was who had been doing them. The full form had been richer than the partial form. The partial form had been available for 19 years. The full form had been available for 1 year. The full form was worth the cost of the hip replacement. I want to say something about a Sunday dinner in October, a year and a few months after the hip replacement recovery. That had been the occasion where the full form had been most present in the specific form of the ordinary family dinner. My mother had been at the head of the table. The hip was good, the recovery had been as full as the recovery was going to be, and Marcus had been at the side, and I had been across from him, and we had been in the specific form of the family dinner. That is, the family dinner of a family that knows its full picture. The dinner had been the dinner she made for the occasion she wanted to mark without formally marking them. The specific meal, the specific care. She had made Marcus's favorite things, not the occasion meal, the everyday elevated form. The meal that says I want this evening to be specific. Marcus had been at the table receiving this. He had said something at the dinner that I had been thinking about since. He had said, near the end, I want to say something about the year. She had said, say it. He had said, the year has been different from the previous years. She had said, different how? He had said, in the previous years I was the person managing the thing. He had said, in this year I have been in the thing. She had been quiet. He had said, there is a difference between managing the thing and being in the thing. He had said, I have been in the thing this year. He had said, it is better. She had been quiet. She had said, I have been trying to make room for the in the thing form. He had said, I know. He had said, I have felt it. She had said, good. She had said, I should have made the room earlier. He had said, yes. He had said, you are making it now. I want to say something about what I understand now, 2 years after the afternoon at the hip replacement, about what Marcus's 19 years have been, and about what they are in the full form that the 2 years of the knowing have given me. The 19 years had been the specific form of the invisible work, the work that produces its outcomes in the form of what does not happen, the health crisis that does not become a greater crisis, the medication that does not produce the interaction, the appointment that happens on schedule, and that is therefore most visible in its absence. He had been doing the invisible work for 19 years, and the visibility of the work had been in the stability of my mother's health management, and not in any form that could be directly pointed to. The hip replacement recovery had been the occasion that had made the invisible work visible. My presence in the house for 2 weeks had given me the direct observation of the system he had built and maintained, and the observation had been the first direct evidence of what the 19 years had contained. The afternoon conversation had been the naming of what the evidence pointed to. The 2 calls and the apartment visit had been the receiving of the full account. The Thursday call had been the completion of the acknowledgement. The October Sunday dinner had been the first ordinary occasion on which the full form had been in the room, and the room had been better for it. The invisible work had become visible. The visible work was the same work it had always been. The seeing it clearly was the thing that had changed. I want to say something about what my colleague at the hospital pharmacy, a senior clinical pharmacist named Dr. Okafor, who had been mentoring me for 4 years, had said when I had told him about Marcus in the form that was mine to give. I had told him about the invisible medication parallel and about what I had been understanding about Marcus's 19 years. He had listened and had said, I want to tell you something about the invisible medication concept. He had said, in clinical pharmacy we think about the invisible medication primarily in terms of what happens when the medication is stopped. He had said, the system that has been running on the invisible medication does not show you what the medication was doing until the medication is withdrawn and the adverse outcome appears. He had said, your brother is not withdrawing from the management. He had said, but you have seen the system with the full picture now. He had said, you know what the medication is. He had said, that is a different form of the visibility from the visibility of the adverse outcome. He had said, the best form of the visibility is not the adverse outcome form. He had said, it is the form that sees the medication working and names it while the medication is still in the system. I had been quiet. He had said, you named it while he is still in the system. He had said, that is the form of the visibility the medication deserves. He had said, it deserves to be seen while it is working. He had said, you saw it. He had said, you named it. He had said, That is the clinical practice working in the right direction. I had said, yes. He had said, go back to Richmond as often as you can. He had said, the full medication list requires the full attention. I had said, yes. I had said, I know. Thank you for staying until the end. If this story connected with something real in your life, write it in the comments. I read every single one. And if someone in your family has been doing the invisible work, the work that produces its effects in what does not happen, in the stability that looks like the background condition rather than the managed outcome, I want to say something clearly before you go. The invisible work is visible when you look for it with the full picture. The full picture requires asking for it or receiving it when it is offered. Go to the hip replacement. Be in the house for the recovery. Be in the house long enough that the system becomes visible. When the system becomes visible, name what you see. Name it specifically. Tell the person who has been doing the invisible work that you see the work and that you know what it is. The work is enough. The knowing that the work is seen is also enough. The person who has been doing the invisible work has been waiting to be seen in the form they have been in for 19 years. See them. Say it. The it is enough is real. The real is what they have been. I want to say something about what the 2 weeks of the hip replacement recovery had looked like in terms of the specific things I had observed before the afternoon conversation had arrived and about what the observing had been building toward. The recovery had required the specific management that the first 2 weeks post-hip replacement require. The ice, the elevation, the physical therapy exercises, the movement limitations, the medication schedule. Marcus had been present every day. He had arrived in the mornings and had coordinated the schedule and had been in the house through the afternoon and had returned to his apartment in the evenings. I had been watching him operate in the house across the 4 days before the afternoon conversation and had been observing the specific fluency that comes from long practice. The way he had anticipated what was needed before it was asked for. The specific relationship he had with the home health aide that told me the relationship had been established over years rather than weeks. The medication log he had built in the specific format of a person who had learned the hard way what the format needed to be. I had been watching him and had been understanding in the form that understanding builds before it becomes conscious, that what I was watching was not the effort of a person who had recently taken on a task. What I was watching was the system of a person who had been in the task for a long time and who had refined the system across the years into the specific form it needed to be in. The fluency had been the evidence. The evidence had been accumulating for 4 days before the afternoon had named what the evidence had been pointing toward. I want to say something about Marcus and about what the 19 years had made him and about what I had been understanding in the apartment visit about who he was. He is 38 years old. He works in project management for a construction company in Richmond, which had been the professional form the 19 years had produced. The years of the logistical management of our mother's care had been the same foundational skills as the project management work, and the work had found the skills that the skills had been building. He is good at the work. He manages the projects in the form that he had been managing our mother's care, with the fluency of the long practice and the specific attention to the full picture. He had not gone to his manager at the construction company and said, "The reason I can do this is that I managed my mother's care for 19 years. He had been doing the work in the form available to him. The work and the skills had been in conversation without the work knowing about the skills history. I had been in the apartment looking at the project management documents and understanding the conversation. The same hand that had been coordinating the doctor appointments had been coordinating the construction timelines. The skills had been the same skills. The work had been the work that the skills had found. The skills had been there because of the 19 years. I want to say something about what I had said to Marcus in the apartment visit when I had been trying to understand the specific form of the 19 years from the inside of them. I had said, I want to understand something about the day-to-day form of it. He had said, what do you want to understand? I had said, I want to understand what a week looked like. He had been quiet for a moment. He had said, a week looked like Monday, the pharmacist appointment that needed a medication review because the insurance had changed the formulary. He had said, Tuesday, coordinating with the home health aides agency because the aide had called out and there was a substitute. He had said, Wednesday, the standing appointment at the specialist and the drive there and the waiting and the drive back. He had said, Thursday, figuring out the new prescription and whether the copay had changed and whether the budget for the week could absorb the copay change. He had said, Friday, the grocery run for the specific things the diet required, not the general groceries, the specific things. He had been quiet. He had said, that is a week. He had said, the week is the week. He had said, I have had 800 and something of those weeks. He had said it without the dramatic form, the accurate statement of the specific number. He had said, the weeks have been the weeks. He had said, I have been in them. I want to say something about a specific incident Marcus had described during one of the calls that had been the most direct expression of what the invisible work had looked like in the form it was least visible in. He had said, in the second year, when I had been home for about 18 months, there was a period of 3 weeks when the insurance had changed, and there was a gap in the coverage for one of the critical medications. He had said, the medication was not optional. He had said, the gap was not going to be resolved in time for the next refill. He had said, I paid for the 30-day supply out of my paycheck. He had said, it was at the auto parts store, which was the first year of the auto parts store job. He had said, it was most of the paycheck. He had said, I did not tell Mama. He had said, I figured out the insurance issue the next week, and the gap was resolved. He had said, I never told her. I had been quiet. He had said, there were other things like that. He had said, not always money. He had said, sometimes time. He had said, sometimes it was the form of the thing where there were 2 appointments on the same day, and I had to choose which one to take time off work for, and I had to decide on the spot which one was more important. He had said, those things were the invisible form of the invisible work. He had said, nobody saw them. He had said, I saw them and I managed them, and they were gone by the next week. He had said, they happened 800 times and nobody knew they had happened 800 times. I had said, I know now. He had said, yes. He had said, that is the thing. He had said, you know now. I want to say something about the pharmacological concept that had been most in my mind across the weeks of the processing and about what it had given me for the form of the conversation with Marcus. In pharmacology, the concept of the loading dose refers to a higher initial dose of a medication given to rapidly achieve the therapeutic blood concentration before settling into the maintenance dose. The loading dose acknowledges that the therapeutic level needs to be established and that achieving it from 0 requires more than the maintenance dose can provide in the normal time. The acknowledgement I had given Marcus in the Thursday call had been the loading dose. The specific high-concentration naming of the specific thing and its specific cost, and the specific form of the knowing. The loading dose had been what had been needed to establish the therapeutic level from 0, 19 years of 0, then the loading dose, then the maintenance dose of the ongoing acknowledgement in the ordinary form. The Sunday dinner had been the first maintenance dose. The second Richmond visit had been the maintenance dose. The ongoing contact had been the maintenance. The therapeutic level was being maintained. The system was in the therapeutic window. The medication was working in the form it needed to work in. The loading dose had been the right form for the starting of the thing. The maintenance was the form for the continuation. I want to say something about the second Richmond visit and about the specific afternoon that had been the most complete expression of the full form of the 3 of us in the current year. We had been in the backyard, my mother's backyard where we had grown up, the specific small suburban backyard with the garden she had maintained across the decades. And Marcus had been doing something in the garden, and I had been at the table and she had been in the chair she used when she was in the backyard. He had been tying the tomato plants that had been outgrowing their stakes, and she had been watching him and I had been watching both of them. He had been doing the garden thing the way he did the care management, with the specific attention of the person who knows the thing and who finds the task natural. She had said it, watching him. He has been doing the garden since your father left. She had said it to me, but in the form of the saying that is not only for the person it is said to. He had heard it. He had not turned. He had kept with the tomatoes. She had said, 20 years of the garden. She had said, every year. He had said, to the tomatoes, the tomatoes are better this year than last. She had said, yes. She had said, you changed the soil amendment. He had said, yes. He had said the one from before was not producing the pH they needed. She had said yes. She had been watching him. He had been with the tomatoes. I had been watching the two of them in the backyard. The garden had been 20 years of the invisible work in the form of the visible thing. The tomatoes had been better this year. The soil amendment had been right. He had known what the soil needed. He had always known what the soil needed. I want to say something about what had happened after the dinner when Marcus had said he had been in the thing this year rather than only managing the thing. She had said, "I have been trying to make room for the in the thing form." He had said, "I know." He had said, "I have felt it." I want to say something about what I had observed across the visit that had told me the making room had been real. She had been in the visits asking him things that were not the care logistics, not the appointment timing, not the medication question, but the things about his life, the project he had been on at the construction company, the friend he had mentioned in the previous call, the weekend trip he had taken in March that he had mentioned to me. She had been asking about his life as well as about the care. The asking about his life had been the making room form, the making of space for him to be the person in the relationship rather than only the manager of the logistics. He had been receiving the asking about the life in the form of a person who had not been frequently asked about the life in this form and who was finding the form natural now that it had been offered. He had been telling her about the construction project and she had been receiving it with the specific attention that tells a person they are being heard. Both had been in the new form. The new form had been the form the Sunday dinner had been about, the in the thing form. The in the thing form had been better. He had said it was better. The observation had confirmed it was better. The confirmation had been the thing I had come to the visit to see. I want to say something about the specific conversation I had with my college roommate Aurora, who had known me since we had been in the pharmacy program together, and who had been the person I told in the specific form of the first telling that a person does when they have received a significant piece of information and need to tell it to someone who can receive it. I had called her from Chicago the first night after I had returned from the hip replacement week. She had answered and I had said, "I found out something about my brother." She had said, "Tell me." I had told her about the afternoon, about Marcus's departure from the civil engineering program, about the 19 years of the care management. She had been quiet for a long time. She had then said, "I want to tell you something about what you are describing." She had said, "The person you are describing, the person who makes the decision at 19 and manages the logistics for 19 years without requiring that the managing be acknowledged, is a specific kind of person." She had said, "I have met people like this." She had said, "They organize their lives around the thing that needs to be done, and they find the meaning in the doing rather than in the recognition of the doing." She had said, "The recognition is not what they have been working toward." She had said, "The seeing is." She had been quiet. She had said, "You have given him the seeing." She had said, "Not the recognition." She had said, "The seeing." She had said, "The seeing is the thing that the doing has been waiting for." She had said, "The recognition would have been the smaller thing." She had said, "The seeing is the whole thing." I had said, "The seeing is what he named when he said he had been waiting for someone to know." She had said, "Yes." She had said, "The knowing is the seeing." She had said, "You saw him." I had said, "Yes." I had said, "I saw him." I want to say something about the medication review work I had been doing in the weeks after the hip replacement and about what the professional work had been doing alongside the personal processing. I had been working on a complex polypharmacy patient review, a patient in their 80s on 15 medications, and had been in the specific work of the full picture assessment, the mapping of the interactions, the identification of the medications that were working effectively, the specific attention to the ones whose effects were invisible because they were preventing rather than producing. The review had taken 2 sessions and had produced the full accounting, each medication named, its function described, its contribution to the overall regimen assessed. I had been in the second session of the review doing the documentation and had been thinking about Marcus. I had been thinking about the documentation form, the specific form of the medication list that names each medication and says what it is for and why it is in the regimen. The documentation form had been the form Marcus had been asking for in the specific form of the knowing, the acknowledgement that the medication existed and what it was doing and why it had been necessary. I had given him the documentation in the Thursday call. I had named the medication and said what it was for and said why it had been necessary. The documentation had been the completion of the medication review. The medication had been working for 19 years without documentation. The documentation had been what had been missing from the full picture. The documentation was now in the chart. The chart was more complete. The patient was more known. I want to say something about the most recent call with Marcus, which had been a Sunday call 2 weeks before I started telling this story, and about what the call had been in the form that the year of the knowing had produced. We had been in the regular Sunday form that had emerged in the year since the hip replacement, the weekly contact that had been more frequent than the previous form and that had been different in the specific way of a call that has the full picture in the background of it. He had been telling me about the current project at work, a residential development in the west end of Richmond that had been giving him a specific logistical challenge and had been in the form of the person who is in the work fully and who is finding the work engaging. He had been describing the challenge, and I had been asking the questions that the description had been producing in me and had understood, in the asking of the questions, that I was genuinely curious about the work rather than receiving it as the background information of his life. The genuine curiosity had been the form of the knowing. When you know the full picture of a person, the details of their work become interesting in the specific form of interesting that is connected to the full understanding of who the person is and what the work is for them. I had been genuinely curious about the residential development. He had received the curiosity in the form that genuine curiosity is received, with the ease of a person who is being listened to by someone who actually wants to know. We had been in the Sunday call in the new form. The new form was the full form. The full form was warmer than the previous form. Both of us were in the warmth. The warmth was the form the year had arrived at. I want to say something about what Marcus had said in the most recent call near the end of it that had been the form of the year of the knowing expressed in his words. He had said, "I want to tell you something about the calls this year." I had said, "Tell me." He had said, "The calls this year have been different from the calls before the hip replacement." I had said, "Different how?" He had said, "Before the hip replacement, I was in the calls in the form of the update." He had said, "Here is what is happening with Mama. Here is the schedule for the week. Here's the thing that needs to be addressed." He had said, "The calls were the information transfer." He had said, "The calls this year have had things in them that are not the information transfer." I had said, "Yes." He had said, "I have been in the calls this year rather than only reporting through the calls." I had said, "Yes." He had said, "I know why." He had said, "The hip replacement gave you the picture." He had said, "The picture changed what you were receiving through the calls." He had said, "I have been in the calls with you this year in the form of the person you are calling, rather than the form of the reporting function." I had been quiet. I had said yes. I had said, "You have been the person I was calling." He had said yes. He had said that is the whole of it. He had said, "The rest has been the same." He had said, "The management is the same." He had said, "The week is still the week." He had said, "The being, the person you are calling, is the thing that has been different." He had said, "I have preferred that form." I had said, "Yes." I said, "Me too." He had said, "Yes." He had said, "The form is better." I had said, "Yes." He had said, "Keep calling." I want to say something about what I have understood in the 2 years since the hip replacement afternoon, about what Marcus's life has been, and what it is, and about what I owe him for the 2 years of the knowing. He has been in Richmond for 19 years, doing the invisible work in the form the invisible work required. He has built a life in Richmond. The job, the apartment, the friends, the garden, the construction projects he has consulted on in the form that the 19 years of the logistics had produced. The life he has built is the life he has had. It is not the life the civil engineering program would have produced. It is the life the 19 years have produced. Both are real. One is more hypothetical than the other. The one that is real is the one he has been in, and the one I am now in contact with in the form that includes the full picture. What I owe him for the 2 years of the knowing is not the repayment of the 19 years. The 19 years are not a debt in the form that repayment addresses. What I owe him is the continued seeing, the weekly call in the form of the person I am calling rather than the reporting function. The Richmond visits that include the garden and the Sunday dinner and the being in the thing, rather than only the care management logistics. The genuine curiosity about the residential development and the next project and the form of his life in the form it has. The owed thing is the attention. The attention is available. I am giving it. The giving is the form of what the knowing requires. The knowing is 2 years old. The knowing is good. I want to say something about the specific afternoon in the pharmacy in the week I had returned to Chicago after the hip replacement visit, when I had been in the form the work required and had understood something about the parallel that I had not yet understood in the full form. I had been doing the medication reconciliation for an admission patient, the specific process of gathering the full list of medications the patient was taking, from all sources, not only the ones the patient remembered or the prescriber had on file, and creating the complete and accurate list that the inpatient team would work from. The reconciliation had required calling the patient's pharmacy, the patient's primary care office, the specialist offices, and the patient's family member who had been managing the medications. The family member, a daughter, a woman in her late 30s, had been in the form I recognized from Marcus, the person who has been the invisible medication in the family system and who had the complete list because she had been managing it. I had called her to confirm the list. She had given me the complete list in the specific, organized form of a person who manages medication lists and who has developed the system for managing them. I had been taking notes and had said, "How long have you been managing your mother's medications?" She had been quiet for a moment. She had said, 8 years. She had said it in the form of the statement about a fact that is not usually asked about. I had said, "You know this list completely." She had said, "Yes." She had said, "I have to." I had said, "Yes." I had said, "I know." I had said it in the form of the knowing that the hip replacement had given me, the knowing of what it means to have to. She had been quiet for a moment. She had said, "You know." I had said, "Yes." I had said, "I know someone in the same form." She had said, "Yes." She had said, "It is a specific thing, the knowing." I had said, "Yes, it is." I want to say one final thing about Marcus and about what I have been understanding across the 2 years that I want to say clearly before I stop. He is 38 years old. He is in Richmond. He is in the management of our mother's care and has been for 19 years. He is also in his job and in his life and in the garden and in the Sunday dinners and in the weekly calls with me and in the project consultation with his civil engineer friend. He is in the full form of the life he has been building in Richmond across the 19 years, and the full form has more in it than the management of the care. The management is the condition that has produced many of the other things in the life, including the skills that the project management work has been built on, and including the specific knowledge of what it means to do the invisible work for a person you love. He knows what it means to do the invisible work. He has been doing it for 19 years. The knowing of what it means is in his life in the form of the thing he carries that gives him the capacity to do it. He carries it because the 19 years have given it to him. The 19 years have given him the civil engineering consultation in the hard hat photograph and the tomatoes better this year than last, and the calls in the form of the person I am calling rather than the reporting function. Both forms of the giving are real. The full form of his life is the form the 19 years have produced. The full form is his. The full form is real. I know him in the full form now. The knowing is good.